guys doing this lovely, fabulous weekend, beginning the month of June? It is Gemini season for sure. It started like 2 weeks ago, but we're in it now. So shout out to all the Geminis that are coming out this month. And again, welcome to Sunday School Charting and Trade as we will begin this week with a monthly top-down analysis, and we'll go from there since this is the beginning of the month. So I hope you all are ready for that. Before we get started, we'll take a little moment to get our mindsets right with a quick grounding quote or affirmation, I would say, and then we'll go from there. So today is responsibility, and we're going to be responsible in making sure we're doing our homework. This is why we come to Sunday school. It's homework day, right? It's homework, and we're responsible with our homework. So I plant myself on solid ground by consistently taking responsibility and having personal accountability for all that I do. I allow others to depend on me being responsible. My actions speak louder than my words. I rise above excuses and overindulgences as I forgive myself for my past indiscretions. I know I could not have acted in a more evolved way than I was able to at the time. All right. So we're going to be responsible, accountable traders this week, right? And putting the juju out in the universe for that. That's what we're all going to do because this is a hot week. Okay. All right. This is going to be a hot week. Before we get into the charts, a few things you guys saw. I posted the calendar. I want to bring up a few things with this calendar. Let me see if I can pull it over like this. Yay. Okay. So the calendar, we're going to do a few more night trades, getting into something, figure out if this vibe works for me this month. And we're just going to keep going from there. All right. So we're going to keep going from there. Night trading will be at 8 p.m. You guys know I kind of started some night with Learn Trading Psychology once a month. And now I'm figuring out based on like what red folders happened that day, what's coming the next morning that can give us the better nights to come in here and night trade or at least look at the setups together, right? So one per week this month, Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on the week, we have trading at night. So I try to kind of align it with days that we weren't trading during the day, with the exception of the 4th this week. Okay. So this week, on Tuesday, there's Jolt's jobs opening at 10 a.m. on the 4th. Okay. We are not going to day trade the morning. We're going to wait till the night. Okay. And come back that evening and trade. I kind of want you guys to work out how you want to take advantage of red folders in the morning on your own. And we'll come for that evening, okay? Because we have a red folder every day this week. So, and the end of the week is the most volatile news. So we'll see how it goes. So we'll let jolts happen during the day. And then usually I feel like by the evening, and then when you come in for the ADP farm and the next morning, the preliminary one, there's some action sometimes more in the afternoon, right? And then towards the night. We'll see if we get that this week, but that's where I'm going off of, okay? So that's where the schedule is. Of course, we have FOMC this month, all right, press conference. We are expecting, or at least I'm expecting, the Feds to halt interest rates again. We'll stay right where we're at 5.5%. That's what I'm expecting, but we'll have fun on that day. That day, we will come in early morning. So you guys will see everything has been published on the website. All right. And the times vary drastically depending on the red folder. So on the 12th, we'll come in early morning and do like a quick one because we know nothing happens in the morning on FOMC day. And then we'll do our Telegram pop-up per usual in the afternoon, right? For that. So I'll just do a brief little morning and I'll do it a little earlier than what I've used to do it. And then we'll come back in the afternoon. All right. And then the other thing to point out, this particular month has 5 Sundays, with one of them Sundays being Father's Day. So we're going to go this month with 2 weeks of no Sunday school. And you guys are going to be great and fantastic. You guys are going to be lovely and it's going to be great. So we will still have 2 Sunday schools for the month, but there's going to be a break of 2 weeks because of Father's Day. And we'll spend time with our husbands if you have one, right? And things like that. Okay. So that's the look of June as we kind of transition into a slightly new flow of our time, starting our time. So we're going to be starting a bit earlier for the most part to catch those 8:15, 8:30 red folders, right? And then some days where there's just not that early morning action, we get to sleep in and we'll come in a little later. Some of us, right? Depends on what you're doing. Okay. So that is all I have for you, just to kind of give you guys that update. From there, let's get into these charts. Everybody should have a blank ES chart because we're going to start with the S&P 500 to get an idea of what this market is doing. And then we'll go from there. Of course, I'll do ES and SPY to start. If you guys have any other burning desire tickers that you have to chart out, we want to chart out together and do a top-down analysis, we can definitely do. When that time comes, I'll have you all put them in the chat so we can chart them and do them together. If you feel like you don't need a monthly top-down analysis, let me know, because I'm going to kind of default to that just because it is the beginning of the month. I know some of our charts may not need too much tweaking if you're consistently day trading like most of us are. So you should be only moving a few lines, but just for reviewing the basics of how we chart, I'll start with a blank chart for ES for sure. Okay. And we'll do tweaks with all the other ones like Apple, SPY, and clear. I guess I can do it with SPY, but Apple, SOXL is what I meant to say. Disney, CAT, all of those will start from the monthly and we'll tweak based on where my lines are. So you guys can get familiar with how to do that as well. All right, let's go. So here's the S&P 500 mini futures on the monthly. The first thing I want to do is identify fair value gaps of supports in this case, since we're kind of at an all-time high area. And the only one I care about right now is this little one, because the one above it, the larger one, has too many candles in it. And those candles make it to where, and because one of those candles striked all the way through it, I'm not as concerned about this upper one. Also, because when we drop down to the weekly and the daily, we'll put some lines in there. So let's just start with this support down here. And I'm zooming in to get it as perfectly possible as I can on this block. All right. So this is monthly fair value gap, open and close. Ooh, monthly fair value gap, open and close. All right. And then if some of you probably already have this charted already because you redo your charts at the close of the market on Friday. And that's not actually a bad habit because you don't have to worry about Sunday school. You can just come in here and just be ready to press the button at 6 o'clock. Right. All right. So there's that. If you want to acknowledge the close of this one, you can, because it may line up with some other lines when we drop down. So if you want to acknowledge the close, since we bounced off the way through it, I did not look at the chart until after the market closed on Friday. Like, I got my money when it hit in the morning, and y'all all know what it did by the afternoon. I ain't gotta tell y'all how it closed. And so when I saw it, I was like, you mother loving son of a all that went because I was like, well, I had things to do Friday, so I didn't look. But congratulations to everybody who filled the gap back up at the top, because I had no idea we were gonna do both moves in one day. But hey, that's ES for you. Like, that's ES for you. So we came down and hit that fair value gap on the weekly and came right back up. That was crazy. I was just really excited. So because it did that, we can acknowledge this fair value gap close down here because we have that wicked bounce from there and things like that. So there we are. And then on the top, we can just put a line to align with this wick up here as the all-time high. And that's just what I will label it as, all-time high. All right. All right. Look at y'all scraping up the end of the market. I love it. I love it. I kind of spy called and look at
Girl, I slept through the dip and the turnaround. I was planning. I didn't. It wouldn't help because I was asleep through. And then I got my wait, and I jumped in. So I just did an out of the money 529 call, and then sat there and watch it after the market, the contract go up over $100 in profit.
yeah, well, that sucker shot up there with
it
vengeance.
did. I was so
Yeah.
shocked because even after I walked away, it shot up even more.
I know it really did. It hit the target. I will show you what the previous target was I had, but it hit it. We'll get into it. Let me get there. All right. So we got monthly. Let's come down to weekly. All right. So the weekly, it did exactly what we called it to do. It was like, it just looks like it needs to kiss it. It kissed the weekly fair value gap here. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. We all made quite good. All right. So I only care about this one, the smaller one up here that's been wicked through completely. Again, when I come down to the smaller time frames, we'll put a lot of lines in there. So I will hold off and I'll just take the weekly here like this, because then the monthly is all the way down here. Hold on, what did I do down here? Monthly, okay, yeah, got it. Now weekly, well, this one will be the, I'll zoom in to get it perfect. So you guys, our numbers could be about the same. 5216-ish area. Weekly fair value gap. Open. Okay. And then this is the close. Zoom in. Okay, weekly fair value gap close. And we are here. Now, maybe let's get over a little bit. There we go. Okay. All right. And of course you can lock these lines if you feel like you may accidentally move them, especially these larger time frames. It's kind of nice to lock them up so they won't move on you. All right. Now we got the weekly. All right. Same all-time high. And there's the weekly, kind of looking like an M, but with this candlestick, let's pause right here and let's assess the candlestick. Because I did say it could run back up and close, and the close kind of short, and yes. So that's what it decided to do. It did not want to close down in it. It wanted to be like this, which is fine. So now what we have to do is we have to pay attention to this area. If it's gonna be at M, it obviously needs to come back through this weekly fair value gap, like all the way through. So we would assume that maybe this week candle may run up and put a little bit wick here, but maybe most of the week be bearish if it's gonna come and do that move, right? We know that an M needs multiple, at least like three, what I want to call it. What's the typical bearish three candle pattern I'm talking about? Three black crows is what we call it, right? Three black crows pattern. So we could potentially get something like that to help bring this down. We want to pay attention to how it rejects this fair value gap. So if we come back down again, which I feel like we may, and then we put another wick, right? Wick and or body. We want to pay attention to how we close this week, right? Based on how we close this week, meaning Friday, okay? Because we can't think midweek's not gonna matter. By Friday, we're gonna come back and we're gonna look and we're gonna say, okay, based on that candle, is this fair value gap being rejected and holding support to create like that U type of thing, and it's not an M? Or do we get an M? And it's going to take a couple weeks, you guys. Like this week's candle is still not going to be enough. Like we're going to need next week's candle, right, to really give us that confirmation of what price is doing at this fair value gap. So in the meantime, we're going to trade carefully, okay? Because we really, as much as we may want if we have puts, if we're still in puts for whatever reason by the end of Friday, which I swear to you, I hope all of y'all close out of y'all puts, especially after the run up at the end of the day, okay? Because what that means is this could really bounce and stall. Like this candle can come down a bit. Yeah, sure. But that break that you want for that really good pull down here, that's going to take a minute because it has to first test even this tweezer bottom-ish pattern, okay? So we're going to take it one step at a time. So right now, we're just all eyes on the 51.66 fair value gap. Can we close that this week? That's all I care about. From where price is now, and if we can close this. All right, so let's come down to the daily and let's get some more candles, some more lines put in based on the candles. All right, so the daily, as we know, came up and closed this gap. We knew this gap was probably not gonna last too long, okay? Especially hit a weekly fair value gap open, so that gave it just enough buyers to send it all the way back up and close that gap. That gap wasn't that big from ES perspective. All right, we closed it perfectly. Yay, great. Now, and we closed it all the way up to the fair value gap. Remember, I said that it was the physical gap to 52.84, but then we need to come up and close the fair value gap to not leave this little box here. It's like off by $1, but it would need to come all the way back up to 52.97 area, which was my target. That was if I was going to ride it back up, but I wasn't expecting it to do that by the end of Friday. So I missed that move. It is what it is. So, and I didn't put an alert on it here, so that's my bad. But no, by the time my alert went off, that's not true. I did have an alert on the upside. By the time it went off, and by the time I saw it, that it went off, because I don't think I was actively with my phone when the alert got triggered. So then by the time I looked at it, I was like, damn you. You were all the way up there, 52.97 and all that. I was like, okay, you did a damn thing, and you did it with vengeance. So from this daily perspective, we most likely move this gap line. You can leave it there if you feel like it could be a new support there. I don't think so from this pattern, so I would leave it. But I want to focus more on our fair value gaps, because that's our bread and butter. That's what we do, and that's the first part of charting. So we're going to take this lower fair value gap. I'm going to switch this line to a dash line to indicate a daily line. All right, that I'm coming down on time frame, get this as perfect as possible. And the reason why I'm marking this line, this entry to this daily, because even though we came through it, we came all the way through it twice. Okay, we're gonna remember that we came through this bad boy twice. It's still illuminated as far as the fair value gap go. We have wicks left in a lower fair value gap, and I believe that we can retest it again. So we're gonna acknowledge it, and we're gonna say daily fair value gap open. All right. All right. And then this one, I think what I ended up doing, because I tried my continuous one, I ended up labeling this weekly one as like a weekly fair value gap open and a daily fair value gap close. Like, you know, I know it's off by a little bit. I get it. But it's, just so you can kind of understand, like that line is going to has had some bounce. We beat it twice, and we may need to take it out again to come further down to test this lower fair value gap. I'm also going to mark this fair value gap open. And again, I'll do this one the same way, the close as and daily fair value gap close. So it's up to you, trader's choice on that, but it kind of helps. I think what I'm gonna do for this one, at daily fair value gap close is how much? 52.17, and this is that's $1. Okay, I'm gonna leave it. Never mind. So then this one is like exactly right on. So you might as well just change the weekly fair value gap close and daily fair value gap close. Okay. And then I can label this line, the dash line at 52.02, as a daily fair value gap open. Yay. All right. I'm not going further than that just yet. Okay. That weekly fair value gap close is the first deal that I care about because that's right on the neckline of where that W first popped out. So let's see if we can get to that lower line. All right. From here, as far as resistance goes, the resistance I see that I prefer is this little evening star over here, the top of the candle, the evening star. So however you want to label it, evening star, top of evening star, candle body top, the long red candle is the one that we're pointing out here at 53.23. That's just a top, right? So I'm gonna go with evening star, like top type of thing. That works for me. Whatever works for you. And then daily, let me change that, make sure I put daily. I know I have my line code, but still. All right, so here we are now. Should be about what we look like now for ES, okay? For daily, monthly to weekly to daily. Now, let's drop to the 2 hour. All right, the 2 hour before 6 o'clock. So all my crazy future ladies can be ready. All right, y'all crazy with me, so it's what it is. We in this. All right, so from here we see that we have 3 smaller 2 hour fair value gaps leading up to that daily evening star pattern. Yes, yesterday, Friday, go by what I mean, not what I say. Friday, we came all the way up, right? We met our little order block, okay? We wicked over it and we closed pretty much right after taking it out. We left this wick is because of all of these wicks are long and not leaving too much of a candle body or room or anything like that. And this line is like right in the level with the previous rejection. We want to be careful before we say, oh, it's just going to continue back up. Okay. I do believe that it can come out and test this liquidity and grab these. They're very small. All right. They are very small. And we can, of course, mark the entry to the first one as so 53.10, 2 hour fair value gap open. All right. So the reason why I mark it before I move on to the bottom, looking at the daily, right? I'm coming back out to the daily and the 2 hour. All right. If we want to just finish up and just put like a small wick to the top of this candle, these 3 small 2 hour fair value gaps are going to be the reason it does that. There's no wicks in it, left in it, or anything like that. It's just going to come down to if this pattern is supporting the bulls enough to take it out, right? So I want to see here and see what happens there. And then of course, once we hit 53.23, we will most likely be shorting as we have this fat behind fair value gap on the 2 hour below as support. And I will label 52.90 area as the 2 hour fair value gap open. And since this daily line is lining right up with it, I'll go ahead and just add and 2 hour fair value gap close. Right? So like that. So I don't have to put a whole bunch of lines on my chart. All right. So this is what we're looking at here. All right. Is price gonna run up quickly, which it kind of looks like it will. I think, and then hit its head somewhere up here, 53.24, and then test this lower fair value gap if it doesn't already test it. So a few different things can happen. Keep your eyes open and aware. We can beat on the top of this fair value gap more. I don't think so. This whole setup looks like you're just gonna turn around, but I could be wrong. I do think we'll fall pretty far back into here and chop back up. And there's a few different things that can happen. So we want to pay attention to how candles are like beating up. The wick is like sitting on top of this fair value gap. We want to pay attention to that because that's a signal that price may go up first. And if it just goes up first when the market open, then there you go. So I don't know, we'll get a gap open and then it just falls. We know all of the possible scenarios that we can have before price decides exactly what it's going to do. That's going to give us a clear path of where price is going, so we won't mess up the direction there. All right. So of course, I think we got to just deal with this whole area before we can. I'm saying, of course, like we have those kids in the weekly fair value gap way below, right? If I come back out to the weekly, like all the way down here. So we'll just have to see how we want to move this summer. Of course, we want to stay up. I don't think anybody wants to go that far down. But if we get the signal, we'll definitely be in puts for it, okay? Other than that, guys, for this, I think we're good. There's not too many other indicators I found. Oh no, there's this one down here. I knew there was one. I was like, let me not forget it. Boom, right there. That 2-hour fair value gap with kids, 51.80. All right. So keep that in mind because that is within price action closing that weekly fair value gap that we have our eyes on for this week. Like, is this week the week with non-farm ADP and, you know, just every red folder, jolts, everything this week, everything. Are we going to be able to come and test the close of this weekly fair value gap, saying that we have 2-hour kids left in a fair value gap, right? So you always got to really study and make sure we pull out everything, and hopefully I didn't miss anything else. I think I got it all. 2-hour fair value gap open. This one you're going to label with kids or with wicks, whatever. With kids is more fun for me. All right. So like, again, of course, me personally, I think I'm going to be on the short side of things once price runs up here, and I'll just short again and come back down a little bit and go from there. So that's the daily chart, guys. We have this nice little W here, but it has a lot of signals that it doesn't want to stay bullish. All right, from there, let's go to SPY and look at how SPY did. All right, so here's SPY, and we will move lines around from SPY. I've been moving around pretty much every day last week, so we'll just go from there. All right, so monthly all the way down here, I still have it here. This one I didn't label, so I'll go ahead and label it now. Monthly fair value gap close. All right. And then we come to the weekly. And let's see, how do I want to do that? That's interesting. That daily gap close aligns with that weekly fair value gap. So let's change this to green and a long line. And I'm going to change it over to be a weekly fair value gap open. All right, SPY. There we go. Weekly fair value gap at 519. We'll probably move this daily line. Let me put an all-time high line. Somewhere around there. Sorry, there we go. And then I know it's like a cent off, I'm aware. I'm just not gonna fight with it to make it perfect. Okay, thanks. Daily, we'll come down to the daily. I know I have some 15 minutes on here, so we're gonna move these around when we get to the 2-hour. But from the daily, we have the rest of this gap to close. So we have right here, right? We all see that with SPY at, and this is probably what made Tandra jump in because they said, gosh, I was gonna have a baby. And I don't blame you guys. So one gap, and then the second one, it pretty much hit its head at the wicks on Friday. And
Yeah,
really
my
wants to
target is
try to close all this
529.
up.
Yeah, my
Hmm?
target is 529. That's what I saw.
Mhm.
That 529. I saw making that move. I'm like, go.
You read it perfectly. That's what I'm saying. This is
Yep.
probably your target. It's the gap
Yep.
close. It's perfect.
Yep.
Easy peasy. So, um, and it's kind of a gap on gap, gap and gap situation right here between these two candles too, a little bit. But 529 is what I think it'll hit his head at too, whether it gets there pre-market, however it does it. Where we open up there and then we just close, we just come down to close it. I don't know how it wants to do this gap. You guys know how SPY is in the mornings, depending on what ES does tonight. So we'll
So the
just
tea leaves
label.
are telling me to be ready to jump out as soon as the market opens. Probably, huh?
That
Probably go
part.
ahead and jump out.
Probably. That's usually how it goes. All right, daily gap close. All right. So we have that there. And then once we close there, I don't know how we're going to dance around. And I don't even know how we want to think about this lower gap down here within the W. Okay. So first and foremost, that weekly, hold on. Let me come back out here to this weekly because I'm like, where does my weekly fair value gap close in this case? And it's all the way down here. That's why I had that there. So let's come back. Sometimes this happens to even me, where I'm like, wait, I went too fast. Back it up, back it up. All right, 513 is actually really, because see, this is one of them. Okay, this is where I can't stand gap on gap, gap and gap. All right, let's break it down. Okay, me personally, when I see a physical gap, especially on the weekly time frame, when I see this situation right here where the fair value gap indicator is overlapping, I tend to ignore it. And like I said, the physical gap is my ace of spades. We playing spades. It's trump card, spades, cuts, anything. Okay. Big gap is a spade. Okay. We're gonna ignore the fair value gaps and focus on the physical gap. So in this case, I'm gonna label this, I'm gonna make this a purple line. And I'm gonna label this a weekly gap open because it is like huge. And then I'm add another one and do the weekly gap close. I think I like this better here because then when I come back down to the daily, oh wait, I need to do, so this is a weekly fair value gap open to a weekly gap open, and then the fair value gap closes in the middle. I wonder where, oh, this is gonna get, I can already see it get messier than I want because SPY has all these gaps that I can't stand. Let me keep it there. I'm gonna play with this a minute and go back and forth because I don't want to, I don't want to make myself go cross-eyed with too many lines. All right, so let's come back to the daily and daily fair value gap open, and then it's the weekly fair value gap open to a daily. So this is also a daily gap open. So weekly and daily. Okay, great. There we go. All right. So, and this one is weekly and daily as well. The gap close. I love it when it lines up perfectly. That's what I said. Let me wait before I put all them unnecessary lines. And then this is an abandoned baby. So that's why there's this overlap here. All right, cool. I'm gonna leave that like that. Trying to see what else I want. What else do I see? So the daily fair value gap closed from the wick that we left on Friday. It wicked in here, but we didn't close this daily fair value gap. So I will put, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the 517 line as a daily, what am I looking at again? Fair value gap close, yeah, okay. And then I'm going to relabel this line to add an and daily part to this one as well, because it's just kind of like right above it. All right. Now I can move these 2-hour lines because I know this one. Let's see. Let's go to the 2-hour and let's see where it is. So this is that line I put there on Friday. I was like, this is where the fair value gap is gonna. Remember that? Okay. So look, so it's interesting how it moved to be like right in line with this 2-hour fair value gap open. So we could just change the label here to open. All right. Boom. And of course, we have the little 2-hour gap close right here, right? So we can dash line, make it red. Well, it's a physical gap. It's a trade choice if you want to make it red or purple. If you have a color coding for gaps. And then we'll do 2-hour gap close. All right. Now it really looks like we're gonna finish, or it probably already finished that out post market, right? When prices are just running like crazy. If I put the extended on, let's take a peek, right? Let's take a peek. Because y'all know me, I switch in and out of this. I don't love all this data. So here it is. So post market, it ran up and boom, it kissed the line like so. There it is. So if anything, it will just be finishing up here, and for Tandra's sake, we're gonna pray that ES just chops up here tonight and doesn't do nothing crazy. So we're gonna make sure that in London market and the China market don't do nothing crazy over there on the other side of the planet. We're just gonna ease into June smoothly. Ease on in.
Yes,
right?
pray for me. Pray for me.
Because I already know how it is, girl. So here we go. So I like it. I think overall, though, we have I did not mean a full screen. I meant to, Wendy, this button. Exit the extended trading hours. All right. So there it is. And this is what we got set up. So of course we have this long way back down that it can come to. And of course, when it opens, this will be the fair value gap, close for the next one. And you can put the line there, put it back there. I just moved this one down, but if you want to put that one back there, you can. All right. But just know, we got this is a large order block. So I don't expect us with this little bit of consolidation out here to be able to take out all that. That's not how that works usually. So this should come down and be a little bit of a head and shoulder so we can test this one. Now, once we get down here between this smaller order block and this gap, if we don't want to come down further, I would assume in this area is where we'll start to get a better turnaround, like a better area of support. This is where I'm expecting price to really catch support when it comes through that weekly fair value gap and kind of hits that gap. So that's how I'm looking at the charts. And I hope this is good for all my SPY people. Of course, if you need me to send this to you guys, I can. All right, from here, from SPY, what do you guys want to look at first? First come, first serve. Whoever drops it in first is the ticker I'm gonna go to first. So of course we'll get to all of them, but there's XOXL, Adobe. Girl, Tandra, you've been gone. We didn't kick Adobe to the curb. I'll get to it. I'll tell you why. You probably know why looking at the chart. It's just like, what the hell happened? All right, we'll get to it. All right, Katrina, let's go. XOXL. So what lines are we moving around from last week? This little gnat is bothering me so bad. Like Florida weather I swear, even gnats just get in the house. And I want to catch this thing because it's like hovering around like in between my glasses. It's the most frustrating thing. All right, I'm back. I think I'm back. All right, XOXL. Let's come out to the month and let's look at how these candles close the back. So from the monthly perspective, it's doing the cradle move and it's consolidating right at this level, deciding whether or not, I won't say whether, deciding how it wants to continue up this long monthly baking candle to reach the top of it and finally make new all-time highs for XOXL, because you might as well, Nvidia's doing the doggone thing almost at $2,000. So you might as well take the rest of XOXL with you. so and with that being said, I do expect this to come up, but XOXL is, an ETF, so we have to consider that it's going to move a little bit slower. So what I kind of want to do for this month is I want to move this line up to match the monthly, and I want to make this a monthly high at 69. Like a monthly candle top is what I'm going to do, because this sucker got to come up at some point. Like everything about chart says, so you just need to do it. Dag nabbit. All right. We closed the monthly fair value gap a while ago, and so I'm not worried about really looking. I want to put a body through it. I would assume at this point you want to put a doggone body through the doggone fair value gap. Anyway, let's stay calm. Because I've been going in and out of XOXL so bad. So from here, I don't see any other support that I really care about too much. This is too far down at $24. So let's come down to the weekly and let's get some better support from the weekly perspective. And I like this weekly fair value gap close. So I'm going to change this purple line into a green one. And I'm going to change it into a solid one. And I'm going to label it weekly fair value gap close at $42. All right. And we wick in it. We can remove this gap. Let's see. Of course, we need to put a body through this. So fair value, I'm not going to label it. So the only I want to label, because these fair value gaps have already bounced and things like that, I'm not worrying about labeling it. I'm more worried about the candle bodies that it's trying to get to, if that makes sense. Okay. Because it's like you're leaving the signals, you're just not there yet. So we're going to get there. So I'm going to put the weekly candle body top at 60. Top of this candle. All right, at 60. Boom. Now, weekly fair value gap close. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one as weekly fair value gap open, just because of how it looked in there. I like that one. Let's do weekly fair value gap open. Okay. So that's the weekly. All right. And then from here, let's come down to the daily. And let's remove this purple line and figure out what we want to do. So we rejected quite well from this. I'm glad it did this on Friday, because I was almost like, yo, XOXL, like for real. Like I actually thought you were going to close gap like 42. But looking at how you rejected it, I'm not really thinking that you want to do that. And if I take a quick peek over here at Nvidia, all right, it's coming up there. I should have said $1,200 on $2,000, y'all. I'm like overlooking. I saw this 96 and I'm thinking 196. So I apologize. Let me fix my verbiage. But this is chopping in a way to come up. We may close this gap, but Nvidia has been doing great. So I still feel like we're going to do this move once it figures itself out. And then doesn't it have that stock split coming soon right here on June 10th? Okay. So June 10th, stock splits. And that usually helps the ticker. So again, it's all about how it wants to fight this area, XOXL. And I just see it fighting a little bit, unfortunately, which is why I've been like hopping in and out, because I'm like, can you just do a trend up move and not all this back and forth jiggle, jangle, jangle? So that's fine. Right now, it has a gap to the top side, which is great. But the fact that you wick down here, the fact that you have another gap down here that's not completely filled with a body either, I'm not sure how you want to dance this week. Okay. Nvidia, if it does its thing, great. It may help pull XOXL up, but you guys heard me last week how I was taking my time to really study back and forth. Study the two back and forth to figure out when Nvidia is running, sometimes XOXL is not running the same way. So you have to be very careful. They do align as far as like, they're moving up. But just be careful and make sure you trade XOXL for the gaps that it has, because it definitely likes to test them like consistently. So from the daily, the only thing I will mark is underneath this gap close at $53, right? Try to get it to come back up there as resistance. So this will be like, I can make it purple. The daily gap close. It's daily gap close. Okay. Boom. And then now let's come to the 2-hour, because everything, I mean, you can mark the top of this high to 55, which I had that mark last week because it was like, are you gonna finish up this candle or not? And then it looked like it was really going, and then it did this thing towards the end of the week. And so I was like, great. And so the 55 line, I still think it can come up there. It will be best to get back in, say, let's look at the extended before I say that. How much more did this chart run up post market? So now 2-hour. Let me label this line first, daily. So 55 is going to be the daily candle top. And then the 2-hour, here we go. All right, let's see where this sucker closed on, since everything was going ape shit on Friday evening. Like, what? All right. So it's just right here. So that's not that bad. It didn't really do too much of nothing. So that's great. So for me, I'm gonna take this off. There's too many lines for me. Sorry. Let me go back. Hold on. Too many clicks, Randy. Here. 2-hour. In here. There we go. All right. So from the 2-hour, that closing that gap will also close that 2-hour gap. So that will be cool if price wants to come back up and clear that gap, so we can mark that 2-hour entry. Here we go. As a 2-hour, as a gap open. Let's do a gap open at 51.89. And everything else from the bottom, I'm just kind of waiting until I see what happens in between this range, right? So I would love for us to stay up right here for my SOXL people. And this will look like a great entry to take at the neckline here to then continue up, right? Of course, we want to be careful once we get to 55. So we may put an alert there just in case it wants to hit its head and turn around and not really come back. Or continue up is what I'm saying, and come back for like a lower gap. Or what if it opens with a gap? I have no idea what NVIDIA is going to do that's going to help SOXL do some shenanigans of its own. But that's the top-down analysis I have for SOXL as we wait for it to get all the way back up here. And I wanted to get to 70 so bad because this cradle looks so good to me. It's just whether or not it wants to do it or not. All right, from there, we'll go to Adobe. And I have to pull it up. That's right. I kicked to the curb because it was just giving me small candles and I was getting frustrated with it. All right, so let's go with a monthly and let's clear this chart out because I haven't charted in a while. All right. Adobe on the monthly looks like a gigantic M, but I don't think it may want the whole like it come down below 278. I really hope not. But hey, these companies do what they want to do. So for the monthly perspective, we can mark that monthly fair value gap close, of course, that is currently in at 432. And we can mark that there.
That's
as a-
why I looked at it, because I'm like, is this about to turn around? Like
No,
it's
I don't feel like that. I feel like it may kiss this one before it turns around. The next
okay.
one, the son
Okay.
of a
So
gun.
that's what I need to watch for that one. Okay.
Yeah, like if you know how to put it down, you can do that. You get what I'm saying? Because Lord, so let's label these monthly fair value gap close is where we're currently. And then this one, 413, would be monthly fair value gap open. Uh, and then 386 would be the close of that one. Now, like I said, I would prefer it not to come past through here, but like I'm hoping it shows support somewhere there. And hey, it does what it wants to do. All right. And then from the top side, we can come up and we can, of course, take the obvious fair value gaps that are there. So if we have fair value gaps there, we're always going to take them and mark them first. So this would be a monthly fair value gap open since it's coming up. And the monthly fair value gap close. I'm still on W, okay. Oop. All right. And like that. And of course, I can come in here and make it more perfect for you guys. But 507 area to 528 range, right? For that resistance area. All right, and anything above that is really not necessary right now. So we'll come down to the weekly and we see how it is just falling. And if this don't look like a weekly head and shoulders, Tandra, I don't know what does. So that's why I feel like it's gonna keep coming.
Yeah, it definitely very image, very head and shoulders. Yes.
So we have this physical gap right here, and it's technically a little off from the daily perspective. That's like this, 430 to 415. You have a physical gap in between there. Lord have mercy. So for one, we gotta test that and touch that. And then from there, depending on how it draws, maybe you can get a turnaround within that gap to form. It'll probably come through it. I mean, this is a clear breakaway that to me says you want to take the gap out. I don't see any liquidity that you really left up here. Of course, you have kids and parents, you have everything up in here in this fair value gap on the weekly. So it may take a while to come back there. You wicked all the way through on this little one. So Geronimo, we go to the downside. Of course, if we wick into this lower daily fair value gap below around 410 area, that may, you may be able to test this fertilizer, that weekly close, because that looks about right. It will test all the way there. But of course, you can get it to bounce and leave wicks in it, and it may not want the whole thing because we're coming to the bottom here. So we're going to pay attention and be patient with Adobe a little bit. If you think it's going to take the gap is probably your best move right now from this point. I guess Tandra's just right on time. When Adobe's ready, she comes back to the crib for us, because
Right.
I swear the
Right.
whole time you was gone, I ain't give a damn about this thing. And it wasn't acting right.
Yeah, so maybe the act right got our show back up. So give us our money, because that Adobe's where we were making our money before. Give us our money.
It was doing great.
It
And then it was just acting up. So I just kind of leave it alone. It's been dropping like crazy. So I left it in that gap, really threw me. So once it did this gap, I was like, yeah, nah, I'm just gonna leave you alone for a while. And I'll play with you when you get back to normalcy a little bit. So from the daily here, we rejected from this monthly close to it on Friday. So now if you want to sweep some moves, of course, You come down in the daily and the 2 hour and find where you only need like $4 with Adobe any doggone way. So here's another physical daily gap between 464 and 472. All right. And you have the daily fair value gap as well. Now, like I said, this is why it's been bothering me, because all these other damn daily fair value gaps, it didn't even try to get to the top a little bit. It was just like barely halfway.
Okay, which is
So
abnormal for Adobe because Adobe used to go back for its gaps.
I know, and
Okay,
that's
so
why I've been
it
leaving
has
it alone.
it's been showing out for real because Adobe normally goes back for its gaps and takes them with a vengeance.
I know, and it's just been like, no. So some other fundamental research may be required to figure out what the heezy is going
What's
on with
going on?
Adobe.
Okay.
That's the reason why it's not doing what it's doing. And because I'm not big on fundamentals is why I just left it alone. Because if the candlesticks ain't telling me what I need, I leave it alone. I ain't got time to figure out what old white man has done what or whatnot. What company? Sometimes it's just there's too many companies, y'all. So y'all gotta pick your fundamentals for the company that you like the most. So for you, Tandra, since you like Adobe, I would advise you to pick up some fundamentals on it, because then it'll help you scalp it
ES
if
is
you want to.
yeah, ES is gapping up. It's
Is gapping up.
Yes.
I mean, you just get to stay there.
I
That's all
needed
you
to
gotta say.
stay up. That's
Just
but
stay
you
there. Just gap.
I need to
Like,
stay
yeah,
up.
yes, you gap up. Now stay up there.
Oh, it's gapping up. Okay. All right. All right.
Oh, what gaps up must come down. I know. I know. Let's look at it for a second. That's a small one. It may finish out the candle for you tonight. We're gonna go with that. All right, let's get through the rest of them. I'll get back to ES and help you guys out.
Who's the meditator? Yesenia, meditate, girl. Yesenia the meditator, meditate for me, girl.
So this is Adobe. Any other questions with Adobe? I think we're good here. For the gap up, we can come to the 2 hour. Let me do 2 hour before I leave. Okay. So there's the physical gap on the daily, and then the 2 hour. We have quite a bit of liquidity in here to come up, but my caution is the space between these 2 hour fair value gaps. It's not as a clean run as I would like it to be. But I do believe that Adobe may have a moment of I don't give a damn and just run up to test that, at least test it. I would
But
hope.
look at that turnaround on that 2 hour though. Was that not a strong turnaround? That's
It's strong-ish, but order block right here,
Oh, I see.
alert.
Okay.
And you left more than just kids in it. You left a body in that fair value. I don't like that because it
Okay.
doesn't always want to come up for it. It can though, and I would love for it to. It does look like it has a potential, but I need at least one more candle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least one more confirmation candle before I believe that it could do that. So that would be the short-term move though for Monday if you want one. How much money
Okay.
is that? That's if you don't get it to gap. I mean, ES is gapping up, so I don't know how. Does ES
Usually a
follow? Does
gap up tells
Adobe
me
follow?
a gap up usually turns itself around.
So $19 for it to
Okay.
just come back up and test the gap. So however it wants to do it, it will be there. And Adobe earnings on the 13th. So keep that in mind that premiums may be inflated. Esther dropped that in the chat for you.
Right. Okay.
Because she's the fundamental queen for real. Like she just keeps her ears open for fundamentals. She's good at it. So we gave her the crown of fundamental queen, Esther. All right, so cat. Let's go to cat, Adobe and cat. So now Esther's up. Let's go, Esther. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh,
All right.
Caterpillar's like in hell. Take a look at it. Ugh. Ugh.
Let's do the monthly and see. All right. I know you don't like trading down, but god damn, this looks like a clean put.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'd love it to continue to go down. I should have been on this train. You look at the daily, it's like falling off a cliff.
It is. So let's start. Let's do the monthly. Let's take this monthly fair value gap close. Green. And it's definitely coming down. And that will be to close it. I don't know if it'll close it completely, but I mean, I actually feel like it may, to be honest with you, just because of so we haven't seen this pattern in a while. I don't know if you guys remember the J hook, the swoop type of pattern, but that's what cat to me is doing. It's a nice J pattern here. And what it will do here is bounce back down to here and then continue up from there, potentially, if this wants to stay on a train up. I don't know how many more candles it wants to give us. This may just be a pullback. It's a monthly time frame, so we got to think big, right? So it's possible. It's definitely possible. Because it's technically bouncing off this fair value gap by leaving multiple wicks in it, I'm going to go ahead and put a line at the top of it as well and label it as well, because monthly fair value gap open, because it's just like teeter-tottering on it. So we'll see how we want to do here. And let's drop down. Of course, we can do all-time high, of course. Yeah, this is cat's all-time high. So here we go. ATH. All right, now weekly. Okay, kind of a descending slope here. 2 tests into this weekly fair value gap, and the weekly fair value gap closes at 324. So we'll do a weekly fair value gap close at 324. And then we can add to this one, to the monthly. We can do monthly and weekly if you guys want, you know, for there, because that literally lines up perfectly. And then we can mark the next opening. There's a little gap there as well. So we'll mark the next fair value gap opening. Do I want it as a fair value gap? Nope, I want it as a physical gap. Take that back. Purple, open, and close like that. 317 and 314. See how we bounce in there, especially since that's like right on the other side of this little order block, right? All right. Because it's on the so it's coming down first for sure. Because usually when we have an order block and then we test the top of it, we usually come back down to clear it. Usually. In most cases across most charts. So unless something's doing something funny, but that's the vibe it's giving you now. You tested it, you bounced off, you tested it, and then you came back up from it, right? This candle's like coming back up from it. And then now we need to clear the whole block. So we should be coming all the way through to the bottom to 317. I know that seems like, oh my God, Randy, are you serious? I know. It really does feel that way though. Of course, we can get a bounce at 324 first before hitting 317. But hey, cat wants it. Cat will come for it. Okay. Cat can make some long candles. Cat can definitely make some long candles. All right. So from here, let's see. Do I have anything of a resistance? This little tiny baby fair value gap right here, 350, which is like, I don't even know if that's going to hold or not. Let's see what it looks like when we come down to the daily. So I'm just going to put this as weekly fair value gap, like line, like a tiny one, whatever, however you want to label it, because it's really, really tiny. To put an open and a close, so you're just going to have too many lines. So you can just mark the open if you want. And then from there, when you come to the daily, you can get some more information to put on the chart. And I will leave the weekly like that. So now let's come to the daily. Choo, 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 choo. Okay, daily cat. Daily Cat has a lot of small gaps. That's driving me nuts. All right. Which way are you going? You filled this gap up perfectly. You came down. You have this little daily fair value gap. All right, let me just go with my fair value gap. So we got it's a daily fair value gap close, yet gap close. So I'm just gonna stick with daily because the fair value gap on this one, since it's so small. And if it comes out to take the whole liquidity, it'll put like a little wick above this thing, above this level here. Right, so we have that little small gap. So what I can do in this case, this is one of those situations where I'll put like the physical gap of it purple because that's the open, and then the end of it closed because it's like the fair value. Well, this one, I like it when if it's a fair value gap and the gap closed at the same time, I can get away with it being red. But this one's a little sticky. I'm gonna just leave it like that. 346, since it's so close, that's trader's choice there. You guys can tell what's happening. And then for support, we wick through this gap at 335, and that's great. We don't have enough data here to support a reversal at this level, and to me, this doesn't look like it's trying to reverse at all. It actually looks like it's trying to come down. So I'm not sure how Monday's candle may want to, pop up here to address the little fair value gap, Esther, but I think the overall conviction is to come down. And of course, you can set your alerts to where you want to put, to where you think it's better for your entry to go take it back up when it's done falling, done falling. And right now, as it falls and hits 331 again, I would assume how many tests you had on this line? 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. I just feel like the fifth time's a charm at this point. It'll probably come and take it. And you have this physical gap too, that's all within this taking out the order block from the weekly perspective, right? So how it'll bounce, I don't know. How does Caterpillar move with the rest of the outside of pending home sales? I know pending home sales it does this thing, but with the rest of the data, I'm not sure how it wants to.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it wants to do because usually it's in tandem with and if the market's up, Caterpillar usually runs with it, especially the Dow, right? Because Caterpillar is a big segment to the Dow. But damn, it did not stick to that plan at all last week, right? So I don't know. It's acting very unlike itself. So I don't really understand what is happening with Caterpillar. Ever since earnings, it's just not having fun. So reasons to hold. See, I do think it's going to come back, but I just think you're right. I think it's going to bounce, and it might bounce even lower. I wonder if it's going to take that monthly and weekly fair value gap at that 325 level. I do think it might come all the way down to that.
Yeah, I
It might
think
even test that 317. It really might.
it
I mean, look
might.
at that. It's forming a big M. I mean, look at it. It's hideous.
It's huge.
Right?
There's
I
a
mean,
lot of sellers
yeah, it's
up
just
here
ugly.
showing, and I see
Yeah.
where it says like reasons to hold, because if you were to squint one eye, all right. If you were to squint one eye, we could, if you get the support at the 331, then we're gonna get the W.
Well, and I had drawn a fib on the daily from that high on the downward move, and then it bounced up to like that. Yes, so I did it on the daily, not the weekly, but because it was easier to see.
You did a fib
Yeah.
on the daily.
Yeah, and I actually have done lots of fibs on Caterpillar, but from that all-time high coming down and this downward move all the way down to the 331. And then said, well, what does that look like if we see, look, and then look what it did. It went to the 61%. So then Caterpillar does that. It goes to the 61% and then it retraces, but it could be forming a W here, right? So
I know,
in this move,
like a big
so
W.
right. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be one of those we gotta wait and find out and see. I have to check the seasonality of Caterpillar. That could be also playing into what's going on right now. Right, could just be not a summer trading stock, yeah. So I gotta check that out.
Okay.
Other than,
That's a good plan. We definitely know it's gonna come down, at least retest is 331. It looks like, well, at least one
yeah,
more
I
time.
definitely think of, I definitely think of it as a day trade or a weekly, a short swing trade. It could be a very fun put to run it the
Yeah.
rest of the way down. So we'll see. That could be fun.
Great work on the fib, by the
Oh,
way.
thank you. But I had done it previously, on that big move up. And again, Caterpillar does love to come, goes all the way back to the 61%. So it doesn't matter which direction you do the fibs in. It still does do a big dip. So, and it comes back, it bounces right off of it. And it tends to like to play within between the 50% and the 61%. So it can bounce around there a little bit. And back and forth. So it can give you a little bit of motion sickness. If if you're not comfortable with that, then beware. But it's entertaining. That's true.
Yep, sounds good. All right, looks good for Cat. Any other questions, concerns? Oh, let's come down to the 2 hour and look at it. Does it follow the kids in the fair value gap? It does. It's all about the timing though, just like yes, right? Like you can sometimes get it too
Yeah,
early. Yeah.
right. I have done that. Like I actually got into a call on Caterpillar in Sim, thank God. A couple of days ago, a couple of days before the end of the week, and I was like, that was really glad that was Sim because I didn't trust it, and I thought it was going to bounce off the fib line, and it was like, no, I'm just going down, just more the gravity than anything else. So we
Mhm.
shall see.
Yeah, because that would be your little one right there if it wanted to come up and catch that little scalp as it makes its way back down. As if it does it, it could just plummet
If it
down
does it.
first. Because that's what happened to
It
us
sure
back
could.
before it decided to plummet down first and then come back up and take the kids. I was like, damn you. So I feel it, but we see it, we know what we're looking at. So I think that's great. All right. Sounds good. What else are we looking at today, guys? Cat, Adobe, anything else you guys want? In particular, of course, we'll peep back over here to ES and SPY. Back and next to each other, okay? So ES open, it gapped open. So let me come to the daily, excuse me. Let's squint SPY over to the side. We'll leave them small on the side. And we'll focus on ES. Okay. And what I like to do on Sundays is I try to, when I come in here and chart, I like to put a blue line where ES closed the night before for that end dog mentality. And I usually do like a little dotted line because wherever it opens, it's gonna come back real quick and just touch that thing like usually right away, as you guys can see. So it will do it unless the gap's far like it did last week. These little ones like this, it'll just gap open a little bit because it's the beginning of the week. And it quickly closes this little area here. So we tend to put a line there to kind of help you figure out where price is gonna go. And once it closes that little gap, then it's like, okay, it's closed, it's done. And then where's it gonna go from here? So the 2 hour ES has wicked its way into the lower fair value gap like I expected it to do because it's just so close. And like I said before, how we wick up it or stay like beating upon the top of it or pulling down into it. It's all about how. We got 2 hours on this candle, so it could do a lot of things and it can close as a doji. But if we wick up here, 53.10, I do believe we may just finish the top here because and now my only concern, I don't think it'll do it tonight though. It's the timing of it. If you guys should know at this point, if this one candle or any one candle, if one candle pierces through all three of these fair value gaps at one time, then we know what time it is. We're going down. I don't want to hear no ifs, ands, no hesitation about it. I put it out there. We know that if one wick goes, shoots the gun and literally killed 3 people with 1 bullet. All right, just pew, 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 straight through. Then we coming down for sure. So it's a matter of how this whole little area wants to to do and move, and you can get an idea better on the 15-minute. So I'm gonna come down on the 15-minute because here are where I found the kids left in freaking Fair Value Gap. They're over here on the 15-minute. So this is probably gonna go up. So here we go. Let's see. The 15-minute closes. So I have pulled, you know what? I'm gonna go to the full screen so I can just pull this back so I can show you guys for my scalpers tonight. Here we go. All right. Let's come to the 15-minute. This is how I do it. All right. So we coming up and I would enter now. Potentially, we could still fight this line, but it's going to be, if you want an overnight trade, all right, the one I will probably take is from here up to the 15-minute Fair Value Gap close at 53.08. If you want like a short scalp. Okay. So this is the 15-minute Fair Value Gap close. And it has kids, remember that, okay? So you can put the with kids part if you need to. And then if we keep going, where that 2-hour Fair Value Gap open, all right, on the 15-minute, it's kids by themselves. Okay, we see that, right? It's kids by themselves, and the close is at 53.11. Okay, which is right beyond the little order block as well, but there's kids left up there, and we know ES gonna come get them kids, like without a doubt, it's gonna come get these kids. Okay, so I don't want an alert. I want a 15-minute. Of course, as soon as it leaves them, it can take a little bit to come back, depending on how it does it, and that's what we saw. So 15-minute Fair Value Gap. This one was a close, yeah, and this one has kids too. So the kids, so that's 53.11. All right, that's price teetering its way and climbing its way all the way back up through here. Now from here, once we close at 53.11, please note that we have another order block with no Fair Value Gap and order block, no kids. Okay, Fair Value Gap, no kids. Another Fair Value Gap, no kids, and it's technically, if it's going to retest the top of the evening star, that it's going to come back for this little chop of fooey, whatever this is. So I don't really want to call this kids. So it's just a flag that broke out of the Fair Value Gap. Okay. So that's what it's going to look like coming up here. I have the most faith in the 53.11, more 53.08, to be honest with you. And then once it chops, depending on the patterns that you get at 53.08, and if you can get price to wick back into the 53.10 side into this area for you before taking it, that'll be a great signal. I'm just pointing out little things to help you get signals. But based on this pattern here, it's not really a cradle. It's kind of interesting how we're doing. I'm not really sure how it wants to draw. I just know this area is the most consolidation, where it gets a little choppy, right? So we can definitely come through it. And it's weaker here, right? So I feel like we could get like a stutter. I'm not sure if it'll turn around here. I know for a fact we could probably turn around at the 53.25 level, because that's where the consolidation is stronger, and that's where our evening star is, right? That's where our daily evening star is. So just be careful between this range. I do think this will probably be the overnight trade that you may get will be up here. If we could take it all the way back up, if we could, right? That's $28 overnight. I don't know. It doesn't always do $28 overnight. Okay. So,
So you're thinking it's going to
mindful.
it'll keep heading up because that's where the magnet is.
I believe
there's some up there.
I believe it's going to be a short chop. I think this is going to be a struggle bus, to be honest with you. Like it's going to get there. It's going to test your patience overnight. And I just don't, and into tomorrow, because tomorrow's news is,
well, I'm going to go to bed and then just peek with one eye in the morning.
Yeah, because I do believe it's going to come up to at least 53.08 for sure. Just from the way this looks, and like the way, even if it's not trying to form up, I think you'll get a candle that will wick there. You
Got
see
it.
what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then you'll have like, a consolidation of some sort here
Okay, I'm
in this
making my notes.
range, and it may come down. I just,
5308. I got it. Okay.
yeah,
I got my
this is
number.
my
So
range for tonight. Like no higher than 5311 for sure. But 5308 is that modest conservative take profit.
Okay.
And this is where I think we'll hang out for tonight. This box.
Okay. All right. I'll be ready in the morning.
And let's go to Forex Factory and preview the week just to give you guys heads up what we're looking at. We'll just kind of go from there. I'll let you guys go for this evening. Point out the main things we want. I don't have to do the whole chart. You guys know what to do, and you guys know how to ask questions. So tomorrow, being June 3rd, it's final manufacturing PMI and ISM manufacturing PMI and all of that. So it's not like the most non-farm ADP or the FMOC. So we can just stay there maybe as we expect that news in the morning. And again, into tomorrow, I'm not sure how much volatility it'll give us as we set up for a lot of things this week. So I'm just saying, hang on, ladies, just hang on, enjoy the ride. Always check your 2 hour and 15 minute so you can get out, with the best risk management or capital management that you can using those smaller time frames. All right. Any other questions? Anything else you guys want to look at potentially? Of course, tomorrow I'll scan through. I always, scan through the watch list just to get an idea what things are doing. But
No, I appreciate. Thank you for giving me some targets that I need to look for. So I'll keep my eye on that and watch my trade. But like I said, I was really only just doing it for just this little to 529 move. That's it.
I got it. Yep. I'm gonna just be ready to press the put button tomorrow. That's all.
Yeah.
If it turn around.
And you know what, Randy, that's what I need to work on. I need to, instead of just saying, oh, I did a trade, woo, like no, reverse.
Right. That's the
reverse.
Reverse. I'm finally getting into the groove of that, because even at least twice a week I miss to hit the reverse. And so as well, because sometimes you can hit it too early, and that's what my thing is. So you're like, you're done at that point, but then you don't just immediately hit reverse, right? Because sometimes then you're sitting there waiting through chop when you don't want to be if you hit it too fast. So just take your time, wait for the signal, but yes, reverse, take the other way.
Yep. Sound good. But like I say, get out of this one and then write it down on whatever it decides to do.
So this is like a little $8 move. You guys, ladies, want it tonight? I feel like it's gonna do it. Like I really do. Looking good for it. I ain't gonna lie. And you guys can go from there. Of course, we'll keep chatting in the Telegram chat. But y'all trade safe tonight, ladies. Y'all take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. We'll go from there. All right.
Bye.
Ciao.